Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Leo. How's it going?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I'm very well. Blue skies, sun is shining, life is good, just off the back of a very fun family weekend. We had some buddies over, and the kids were just being the cutest. I'll send you some videos of some very cute stuff. My eldest, Sadie, is really into S Club 7 at the moment. I don't know if did S Club 7 make it over to the States? They must have done, right?
I'm sure they did, but I've heard the name, but I have no idea who they are. Is that one of those K-pop bands?
We're talking like they're probably like 25 years old, right? It's like it's our era, so maybe they didn't make it to the States. Anyway, anyone who knows about S Club 7 in Europe will know that the catchy brilliance of their pop. So she's really getting into that. So we've moved on slightly from Disney to more conventional pop. So we've been doing a lot of dancing, a lot of singing to that. Like that's if anything, I feel like I haven't got much exercise to talk about apart from doing dance workouts, dance and singing workouts with my 3-year-old. So there you go. That's what I've been up to.
Hey, fair enough. That sounds amazing. Well, we swapped weather. It is gray and rainy in Barcelona, but not cold. So I'm not going to complain. And Good. Last week we had our sales kickoff. And so it's really fun, but it's always one of the craziest weeks of the year because we have sort of all hands on deck and we normally do some sort of like a case study and breakout in groups and stuff like that. And then on the last day, we have like a team building. And so we did this really cool Olympics. So we were split into like 4 different teams and got to do like a tug of war, which I'm just going to say anyone who's seen Squid Game, we were lied to. We tried the technique. It did not work and we lost. But, the classic build a tower with spaghetti, mini golf. Anyway, it was really, really fun. And then we made a paella and then we had to eat the paella. So kind of wish we would have just had someone make us a paella, but it is what it is. It was really nice.
And is it one of those where you finish that and you feel like you actually need a 2-week holiday? So, far from sort of kicking things off, it feels like you've gone to war, right?
Yeah, that was pretty much exactly right. On Saturday, I was meant to wake up and I had all these plans. I was going to go for this. There was a free ceramics workshop, maybe like 15-minute walk from my house. And I've always wanted to try it. And so I thought, wow, that's free. Why not? No, couldn't even force myself to leave the house on Saturday.
There you go.
I don't want to speak to any humans. I want to read a book.
I get that. Sit in a dark room sometimes, right? Like you have to do it. Do it. My mind has been wandering. I think it's the fact that we're midwinter here in the UK, which is obviously cold. So we're starting to think about our first holiday of the year. We've got our sights set on Greece in May, or a Greek island in May is where we're at. And I just thought, Sarah, maybe next week you could try and bring some data with you to see what are the runners and riders for areas of Europe that might be having a good summer based on where people are starting to book, because we can't be alone, right? Everyone's got to be looking at their summer holiday, right? Or starting to. So yeah, we're looking at Greece in May for our first one of 2, I would assume. You and Mauro, any plans? I know you like it cold, so he likes it cold.
He likes it cold. I hate it cold. No, my parents are coming in April. And so, end of April, beginning of May. And so we are going to take them to Italy. My dad's never been. And has always wanted to go. And my mom went when she was like 20 on a Euro trip. And so, yeah, really excited to take them, show them around. So we're going to do almost a full week, and we're doing a couple of days in Tuscany and some wine tasting, cute little towns, and then going up to Cinque Terre, which I've actually never been to. So hopefully it will not be a total failure. I have planned the whole trip myself. The bar is very high because my parents think I can't plan anything. And so I am here to prove them wrong. So,
well, look, I know that you're more formidable than an AI chat bot planner. That's what I think, but we're about to find out if that's true, aren't we? Because, this is the year of the AI travel planner. So I believe in you, Sarah, but we're going to need to see it. We're going to need to get your mum and dad on the show to tell us whether you did nail it, in fact, right?
Well, it has to be better than the AI chatbots, I have to tell you. I tried an AI chatbot to plan a trip to sort of latter half of last year when I was looking at Scotland and things. And I had the whole trip planned. And it was like, oh yeah, and here's the links to the hotels where you can book them. And I went into book and I was like, there's no availability. Did you make these links up? And it said, yes, I did. I made them all up. Like, what the heck? There's no point in AI if everything's made up. I can just send you a fake link. It's ridiculous. So anyway, it was a total fail. It was.
I like that you rumbled it though. You totally rumbled it. Do you like? Yes, I lied.
Yeah. Well, I got quite upset, and I thought, well, I was going to ask it. It has to tell me. I thought it had to tell me the truth before too. So who knows? Anyway, I was like, this is not right. Oh yes, sometimes when I can't find results, in order to speed things up, I just give you random things. I was like, so you lied, and it was like, well, mostly.
Yeah. So there we are. Sarah convinced that she's better than an AI chatbot. That's going to be interesting later when we go through some of the news articles, and also Italy. That's going to get a mention later as well. So maybe if you'd have read this article before you planned the trip, that might have changed your mind. But let's see. So yeah, let's get into it. Sarah, what's caught your eye this week? What are your hospitality highlights?
Yeah, sure. So I think I will keep it quick because I don't want to get back on my soapbox. I think I did enough of that the other day. But really interesting article in Euronews, basically just kind of Airbnb finally taking a stance and saying, hey, all of these regulations in Spain make no sense and backing it up with facts, which is really nice to see. I'm a fan of facts and data. So just some interesting highlights from that. An Oxford economics report. There were 141 million guest nights for short-term rentals in Spain in 2023. Host earned 5.4 billion. However, those guests that stayed actually earned for the overall economy 29.6 billion euros through spending in shops, restaurants, and other local businesses. And so this was a really interesting call out to me because it's something we talk about so often is I think sometimes people don't think about the knock-on effects of having these tourists there, and particularly in sort of less touristy areas, right? And this was another bit I found super interesting. So according to Airbnb, 70% of their bookings are for properties in rural or low density areas. And then this was sort of further tacked on by Home to Go, who told Euronews Travel that in 2024, 87% of their searches in Spain were for rural destinations. We're going to talk about Home to Go a little bit later too. So also this goes along with my prediction. So you heard it here first, but rural stays are on the rise. And then I think the final piece that really caught my eye was just that kind of enforcing these super strict regulations doesn't actually stop tourists from coming. So the article cites Amsterdam, which basically pretty much banned short-term rentals for anything shorter than 30 days. First they limited it, then they totally banned it. Not only have tourists not stopped coming, but even with all of these restrictions, since they were introduced in 2022, guest nights in the city have increased by 12%. So it's not working, guys. if they think that's how they're going to get back on tourists, I think that was just an interesting one to me because it's so easy to scapegoat the short-term rentals. And it doesn't speak to the fact that, everyone sees things on social media. People want to go to these places. And I think it's so much easier with cheap flights and, all of the content available to plan your trip that is not AI that make it fairly easy. It's not about short-term rentals or their availability because people are still going. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now, but the article caught my eye. It was interesting. Yeah. I love backing up my opinions with facts. So unlike some people.
I liked it for that reason too. I felt like it was reinforcing some of the things that you talked about and then we had a debate about last time. Really good article, isn't it? The Euronews article. People should have a look at it. Yeah, sensible regulation instead of just hammering the sector. Again, we've had this conversation around rural, have a different approach in the rural area, go and target the tourist you want to bring in. And in a rural village that has one or two restaurants that can become tourist hotspots, they can They can charge more for a great product. It's only worth having if someone's there to try it, right? It's at the beauty spots become more beautiful if there's someone there putting money into the local economy and locals benefiting from it. Something that the French economy has been all too familiar with for years and years and years, because that is the French countryside is a playground for tourists, isn't it? And I think Spanish authorities need to have a think about it in a similar way. I've also taken that a step further, not in this article, but again, if you don't want cruise ships in Barcelona, think about the ports you do want them in, because there will be some places that think we wouldn't mind that trade. Anyway, enough of that, because again, you're right, we debated that one quite a lot last time. So this one has been talked about on Monday by the Monday crew, but I think it's so significant we have to just quickly nod to it. The Monday crew do a proper deep dive on this, so please go and have a listen. OpenAI has released an artificial intelligence-powered agent tool that can interact with websites by typing, clicking, and scrolling. Dubbed Operator. The tool can search and complete purchases for things like travel, groceries, events, restaurants, reservations, and more. This is an article from FocusWire. I also read a good one from Paul Stevens at Short Term Rentals on this one. Essentially, there's a tie-in here with Booking.com. We've got HipCamp as well, who are in our industry, and then clearly other companies as well, like Uber. So this is the beginning, I guess, of what we talked about even in our predictions. We said, I suggested Booking.com might have their own AI chatbot by the end of the year, but actually a Booking Companion, this looks like they might be combining it with others, which makes a ton of sense. It's a watch this space moment, because as we've talked about in our introduction, at the moment, they just tell lies. They just tell lies to you. I'm quoting Sarah. I'm not saying they just tell lies, but they might be telling lies. So yeah, Monday crew are going to do that in more detail. But yeah, just to say, I think that's one for us to watch. And then one that really caught my eye, because we've been talking we've talked about Landfolk before, Danish vacation rental management company, who in 2001 were founded by some Airbnb employees. Always look like they're doing smart things, and have raised money and are really taking that Northern European market by storm. They've made an acquisition. So Dani Italia, so an Italian-based vacation rental home provider. And it's cool. It's just good to see that. It's good to see that Europe is alive and awake to these type of deals, and that they're happening. And we're going to talk about that more in the main articles now. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was significant, because it looks like the sector's going to have a better 2025 than it had 2024. And it's interesting that we're already into very much the early part of the year, and we're seeing movement around acquisitions. We're also hearing about companies restating their desire to IPO. So, okay, let's get into it. So, you will remember, fans of the show will remember that we talked about back in October the fact that Home2Go was exploring the purchase of the Interhome Group, which now from the supermarket chain Migros. This now seems to be set to happen. So no firm announcement on, it hasn't actually happened, but it's set to happen. All parties are talking about it. So that's very exciting. And according to Blue News, the purchase price is in the low 3-digit million range in Swiss francs. Swiss francs and euros, basically 1 for 1. It's quite similar to the dollar as well. So significant. We're talking people who didn't listen the first time round. Home2Go are one of those traditional sort of, original short-term rental management companies, 40,000 listings managed by over 21,000 owners. So it's really, it's people with 1 or 2 listings. Maybe it's their ski chalet somewhere in Austria and their home in France, right? And they've worked with this company probably for 20, 30 years. And essentially you've got a newer, savvier business like Home2Go who, raise money specifically to target mergers and acquisitions back in 2021, going, we'll have this established business that maybe is less interested in developing its technology and happy just to be, a property management business. We'll put it under our tent, and as a process, and in the process, control quite a lot of the European market in one swoop. So I think it's a really interesting deal, really interesting deal, because you have to think there that Home2Go's rivals will suddenly see that these properties are not available as they previously were to book on their platforms. And I think all of the players in this space are desperate for unique inventory. We talked earlier about Landfolk acquiring Danny Italia. Same thing, right? Like these deals are not insignificant because they're saying, look, there's a decent portion of probably quite rural, traditional accommodation. Hosts have been with the company probably for 25 years or more. A lot of these businesses predate the internet. This one certainly does. Interhome certainly does. So there's a loyalty there for the owners. So if you do the acquisition well and you're respectful to the previous business and you keep the branding in some way, shape or form, you keep a lot of those owners. And then you control where those properties are distributed, and suddenly it's a really significant deal. You can kind of win again, right? You can promote and discourage booking on other forms and other platforms. I don't fully know what's going on behind the doors at Home to Go, but I'd imagine that's what's happening here. So similar to what I said about the Landfolk deal, I think this is interesting because we've got movement in the European market again. People sort of making plays. So I think this is really, really interesting. This is not small potatoes. This is according to the article, the second largest provider of vacation rental management services in Europe. We will be trying to get someone from Home to Go to come on the show to do a breaking news interview with us about this, because I think it's super significant. And again, Home to Go and others like them, it shows that they're really happy to try and dip in different pools to grow. Maybe it's buying a small PMS, maybe it's providing services, their booking services to old-fashioned OTAs that they've run out of steam, but they've got really good inventory. Or maybe it is management companies who are kind of going through a similar journey. So they're really happy to dip and pull deals from different parts of the industry to bring them into their business. So I'm really interested to see how this one plays out. Sarah?
I am too. I want the interview. That's what I want. I feel like we've been reading about this for what was originally October. Now the news came out. I want to hear it from the source. I'm tired of the speculation. I want to know the facts. So that's where my head goes. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, until we have it from the source. But because all of our suppositions are just that, right? All we think they're probably going to do this. They're probably going to do that. I want to know. Yeah. Do we have any idea when we think it's going to close? The actual, and we know it's going through, but I was looking through the article. I didn't see.
No, they're very closed about that, aren't they? It's not revealing much. It's interesting though. I think we have talked about on this podcast quite a lot the idea of hyperlocal, right? A lot, and clearly Interhome is a business that has already made that leap from being hyperlocal to being loved by its owners in the markets that they're in, but have managed to create a brand that falls across various regions in the wealthier parts of Europe. So I wonder, and we've had the Casa Go, Vacasa deal recently. So I wonder if we're going to see more movement in Europe around that and people trying to roll up. We interviewed Host and Stay before Christmas about their fundraise, and they were definitely looking at Europe as being one of the routes to growth. So I think it's exciting when this sort of thing happens. Again, I go back to the fact that I think it needs to be driven by hyperlocal guest services. I really do. But again, if there's money in the space, maybe we are going to see people try and roll up in more creative ways, like franchising or like taking established brands and giving them regional offices that have autonomy to make decisions, and a slush fund to pay owners for repairs and things of that nature to keep people on board. So I think in that respect, we could be on for a really interesting year. And I don't know, every year we seem to talk about, is this the time now for mergers and acquisitions? And it never quite happens. But if the money thinks that short-term rentals are sort of on the way up, then we might see a lot of activity quite quickly, because if they are on the way up, then now would be a really good time, because we've had a bumpy couple of years. There's probably a lot of people who are running out of steam. Ergo, I think it's fair to assume we are going to, if we're only on the 28th of January, I can assume we're going to see a lot more stuff of this nature as the year heats up.
I'm excited. I feel like people are finally starting to get the European market in terms of expansion. As we always say, it's hyper local. And if they do it well and keep their owners happy, and they keep guests happy, more importantly, and review scores and things like that don't drop drastically, and the overall experience is still positive, which I think the way to keep that happening is those hyper local teams. So if they can do that well, it's massive news for our industry, because it means somebody has finally sort of cracked the code to growth in Europe, which has been, I think there's a lot of people have been coming in, we're just going to use the US model. It doesn't work. It doesn't work here, people. There's 27 different languages, and culturally everybody's different. And even from one region in Spain to the next, culturally things are very different, much less between Spain and France or Spain and Italy, which are sort of the closer kind of in terms of how they operate. No, so I think people are finally starting to get it. The cookie cutter doesn't work, and I'm really curious to watch the space and see how it evolves.
Yeah, so assuming they don't get their wings clipped by the DMA, I think Home to Go certainly want to watch this year. Same Holiday. I think they're two businesses that we also talk about this. Two German businesses, rivals, right in the heart of Europe, really understand how things work at the European Union. I think they are. I think Booking.com have had a very good 12 months, and I'm sure they'll continue to grow as they always do. But I also think they're two real European success stories, and so I think they'll be at the forefront of a lot of this. Okay, great. So Sarah, we know that you've booked Italy. Turns out you're not the only one. So this, I think, is also going to be a story of the year, isn't it? So we got this one from Travel Weekly. Italy demand expected to soar for the Holy Year. Tell us more.
Yeah, I didn't even know this was a thing. I was raised Christian, but not Catholic. So I didn't know about this Jubilee thing. So apparently there is, for all of our listeners who were as confused as I was, there is something called a Jubilee, which happens once every 25 years. And so this is one of those years. It started on Christmas Day of last year. And it's going to continue for the next several months. And so what that means is apparently there is some spiritual significance to taking a holy trip to somewhere that is important to the Catholic faith. And so not only has demand for Italy and Rome in particular, and visits to the Vatican soared, but the tour operators have done something really, really interesting, which is they have been combining these trips where they'll just tack on Rome at the very end. So they'll do a trip to maybe a smaller town or a completely different area, either of Italy, or there's even trips where people will combine, tour agencies are combining Poland or somewhere that you wouldn't think tied to the Vatican, but lining it up with spiritual places of spiritual importance. And then, by the way, because a flight to Rome is 2 hours and, 50 euros, we'll just tack on, 2 days in Rome at the very end. And then that way the guests who come are happy. And it seems like they're also trying to solve the problem of over-tourism, because can you imagine if all of these people just descended upon Rome, it would be even more touristic and more of a nightmare. I've never been, but I've just seen like ridiculous things on social media, which kind of makes me not even want to go. Sort of like Venice. I was lucky enough to go, like 15 years ago when it wasn't as crazy, I guess. But now I see things and I just think, oh gosh. So Italy demand is soaring, but I feel like the tour agencies are doing really interesting things. Another part of that soar in demand is just the situation in Israel. So there were a whole bunch of tour operators that operate these Holy Land tours to Israel, and they are absorbing a lot of the demand due to some of the unrest in that part of the world right now. And so if you really want to go to Rome and you are not Catholic and don't care about the Jubilee, maybe just like go next year, because it's just going to be overrun with tourists. The other interesting thing that I found in this article were the age groups of the tourists. And so it's much more geared towards people who are in, let's say, 45, 50 plus, which I thought was really, really cool. I think it's an awesome way to kind of get people who are in maybe some of the later stages in life traveling again, and who often feel much more comfortable. I often knock like a tour that's organized where everything's done for me, because I like having the freedom and I like planning it. And I enjoy the planning stage almost as much as I do the trip. But I totally get that, like for my parents, for example, that would be their worst nightmare, trying to plan a trip, much less in a foreign country, much less in a different language. And so I think it's also a really interesting sort of resurgence of the planned holiday. I don't know, Leo, you've ever been on a planned holiday? Like a properly 2-week thing?
No, and for me, it brings back memories of like a school trip on a coach, right? Where the itinerary was planned. And I agree with you. Again, you and I are such optimists, aren't we, for these things? So what I like about this is, and again, as a someone who also wouldn't ever go on a holiday like this because I wouldn't go on a pilgrimage. I'm not religious, but I could see how a ton of people who are religious would, and that is older people mostly in Europe, especially. Like it's the Catholic Church is an older person's game, really. Certainly in the UK and Ireland, which I have more knowledge of. But I can totally see my Irish grandparents have wanted to go on a trip like this for sure. If they were alive now, I could see they would really have been buzzing off this anniversary, and probably would have been going maybe with a church group, right? And there'll be a lot of that sort of stuff going on. So it is group tours, maybe with people you know. I like it because it's a set of events that are happening for the whole year. So unlike maybe the Paris Olympics, which the results were questionable for the city of Paris because it put off as many people as it encouraged to come, and probably was but your usual tourist to France was put off. I don't think this will put people off booking Italy because it's just through the year and it's something to be aware of. But I think if they play this well, it'll be a good year for Italy to be able to take these extra visitors in and show people the beauty of what is probably Europe's most magnificent country, right? For a holiday. I mean, it's a hard shout because there's so many beautiful places, but Italy's quite hard to beat. And I agree with you. I think that it might be the start of more. It might be a renaissance in group tours for people that go and enjoy that and find it's interesting, because there's plenty of religious sites all over Europe, or if Israel opens up more in the next couple of years, people going back there. So yeah, I kind of got the same thing. I thought this is a test. This is a real good stress test for a market around visiting a site at a time when it's busy. And we know that in those moments, the vacation rental industry can be very, very useful. So I hope that alongside that, someone in the halls of government is thinking about making sure that it's as relaxed as it can be to allow people to benefit from having holidaymakers in their homes or in their annexes or in their second homes, because again, the demand will not be able to just be coped with by hotels. So yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity. We're going to have to do what we call it, Pope Watch, Catholic Watch, Italy Watch. We'll have to just keep an eye on it this year, won't we? And you'll have to tell us how many pilgrims you spotted when you were there in April. But yeah, no, I think it's cool. I think it's exciting.
I just had a thought, totally off topic, but it brought me back to the Gladiator episode we did a while back, where Airbnb is giving away a free Gladiator experience. I just wonder if that will be tacked on, because I would absolutely love to see that. You go do your pilgrimage, go to the Vatican, and then fight like a gladiator for a day. I would love to see it. I'd love to see my dad get it out in a gladiator outfit at the end of.
It's all coming together, isn't it? It's all coming together for Italy. Gladiator 2's out with, it's all roads lead to Rome, as they say. Sarah, that's great, my friend. Rather excitingly, I mean, that's it for today, isn't it? Rather excitingly, you and I have got to get our preparation done, because we are emceeing the Short Stay Summit in a few months. We just got that confirmed, so that's going to be really exciting. So anyone that's coming to the London event in April, you'll have to come and say hi to us, because we'll be emceeing the main stage, which is very exciting. Tell me, I had one other thing. It slipped my mind now. It'll come back to me. Sarah, what have you got going on then, apart from being very excited about doing that gig with me in April?
I am super excited about that gig with you in April. And also, I'm excited just to hang out with you in person. The audience is not going to believe this, but we have only actually ever crossed paths in real life as human beings one time. And I talk to you every week, and it's weird. It's weird to have this virtual friend. So I'm super excited just to get to hang out with you in person. And yeah, really, really grateful for the opportunity as well. So really looking forward to that. And aside from that, this week, man, just buckling down. I got so much stuff to do. Last week was our offsite, and so we had a whole bunch of activities going on, and that left little time to get other things done that would be on my normal agenda. So buckling down, and then at the weekend, I'm going away for a friend's birthday. We have rented a beautiful country house on Airbnb. And there's going to be 15 of us, and we're just going to barbecue and cook and spend time together. And I am so excited. So really looking forward to that. What about you, buddy?
That sounds great. That sounds very, very cool. I think we're going to keep it chilled, actually. It's been a mad few busy ones. So yeah, I think probably not go anywhere, walk on the beach, hang out, like just kind of relax a little bit. Again, weather's getting better here. So yeah, we maybe the harshness of winter is over. Excited to say next week, tune in, guys. We have a special guest host, which is Boris Pavlov, who's the CEO, founder of Flataway, but also organizing the Scale event, Scale Sophia, that's happening at the end of February, which we'll be featuring and we'll be attending. So yeah, he's very kindly agreed to come onto the show and give us his take on the news. So yeah, if we don't speak to you before, we look forward to seeing you next week. If you've enjoyed today's show, please hit like, share, subscribe in all the usual social places, and leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. It all helps. Thank you.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.